lost. Zai, you were born as a child blessed and protected by thousands of evil spirits, but this was not something to be happy about. Although their blessings were well-intentioned, they were not suitable for human beings. They caused him almost to die early, and even his parents, who were by his side, were implicated by these blessings. As a result, he has not seen his parents since birth and has been living with his grandfather, who was why he survived. Zayu's life was difficult because the evil spirits made him unable to see, touch, taste, and smell since he was young. He lost all his senses except for hearing and speaking, and he even lost feeling in one leg, making him limp when he walked. No one in the village thought highly of him, and his peers laughed at him all the time, calling him names like blindy, crippled, and retard. Even his parents didn't want him anymore, thinking he was an ominous person. However, the evil spirits protected and spoke to him, telling him that he was their pet and that he should not let anyone bully him. They said that he should be the most respected and that they would kill anyone who dared to bully him. One day, a girl defended him from the humiliation of his peers, and she spoke to him, saying that he was the most gentle person she had ever met and wanted to become soft like him. Although Zayu didn't know who she was, he felt a connection with her. Zayu woke up from his deep sleep, wondering who the girl was. His grandfather asked him to get up so they could finish the day's work. Zayu complained that no one ever gets up early to tell fortunes or read feng shui, and even if they did, they could have done a better job. His grandfather was frustrated with his words and queried him for not being proud of their profession. He informed Zayu that he was alive due to his ability, and would have died already. But Zayu complained to his grandfather that if it were not for him, he would not be there to help him wash and dress or even go for a walk. His grandfather told him to hold on as he had something to say. He asked in frustration if his grandfather wanted to send a letter to Grandma or if he wanted him to schedule a dance work with Granny Zhao. Zayu told his grandfather that he was not trying to judge him as they were too poor to play around, and he should not make it so hard when he brings home a wife who would be related to any of his loved ones. Zayu's grandfather reminded him to wear his blindfold and use his wooden crutch, complaining that he almost lost his life because of the two things, and he had reminded him more than 800 times, yet he couldn't remember to wear them on his own. He warned Zayu not to let others know that he was cured. They ran a fortune-telling and feng shui business, and his grandfather was very protective of him. Zayu pleaded that he would remember next time and lamented that no one else would know besides the grannies who came to their shop. He complained about the discomfort of the blindfold and wooden crutch. Just then, Zayu's grandfather complained that he would die. He repeated it, and these words kept troubling Zayu's mind. He wondered if his grandfather was cheated or if his time had come. Don't joke with that. Zayu seemed scared by his grandfather's words but still could not help but wonder what he could be talking about. He queried his grandfather to have asked for a wish rather than hiking with such a thing. His grandfather sighed, feeling perplexed. He said he had thought about it before and explained that he had known such a thing would happen and was still determining the specific day. Also, he has taught him how to read someone's fortune. He then asked him if he had yet to read that himself. He queried his grandfather why he had not told him before, and his grandfather explained that if he had told him before that time, he would have been weeping every day, and to avoid that, he decided to keep it to himself. He then told Zayu not to make a sad face. Since he's still alive, he can still give him some advice. He explains that since he was born as a chosen child, thousands of evil spirits have blessed him, and those filthy things wanted to drag him back just after he was born. And also, there are some things he needs to know. Zayu listened intently, his anxiety mounting with every word. He told him that he had swapped positions with 5 marriage contracts, and the 5 women had the fate of Yangsha, but all were signs of extreme prosperity and death. After the blessings of the evil spirits, the yin and yang were reconciled, and they could become dragons and phoenixes. So now they should be living well. And now that he's an adult, if he doesn't choose one to marry, although it will not lead to death, his fake disability will become true. Zayu asked his grandfather if he needed to get married, and things would not be fine once the contract marriage is determined. And his grandfather told him that others don't know but would be surprised if he didn't. He said marriage vows could never be given to unrelated people. Zayu asked his grandfather why he had been pretending to be disabled, and his grandfather told him that it was to deceive the people, and it's also the requirement set by the evil spirit because they believed Zayu saved the 5 girls. And if not for their blessings, the 5 girls would have died very young. Since Zayu was their savior, they must not refuse to follow the contract because he's disabled, and if they did, they would die before 30 years. His grandfather then tells him that there By the way, he warned Zai that there is another thing, which is that he must not let others know about his prowess. If no one marries him, he will be disabled all his life. Even if he chooses to marry one of the four and break the marriage contract, they must return what they have gotten from him. Zai was left perplexed as he did not know how to meet the woman. But his grandfather told him that he needed to think about something and that he had to deal with how he untied the knot, which was up to him. His grandfather then gave him some instructions, and he listened attentively as Grandpa spoke, his words heavy with meaning. He told him that he would be going out that evening, and if he didn't return, he didn't need to continue the marriage and could live the kind of life he wanted. And if it's a coffin that comes back, it's business as usual, and 3 days later, someone will appear to bury him. He warned Zai never to talk to those people, let alone let them know he could see them. He then told him that if he returns alive, Zai should not hesitate to kill him at any cost because he would not be the same when he's back. Zai was taken aback. He told his grandfather that if he didn't go out that day, then nothing would happen. His grandfather then tells him that there are some things he can't hide away from. As long as you do what he says, he tells him they will see each other again one day. Zai thinks that no matter what, his grandfather was the first disciple of the former celestial master. How could he pass away in such an ordinary way? His grandfather interrupted him and told him that he must remember every word he had said before. He told him that what he had said, his grandfather felt sorry for him and blamed himself for being the cause of all the casualties. Old man Zai passed away. She has come there to leave her condolence and commented that the grandpa was a wonderful man. But it's a pity that he can't beat old age. But what kept the people wondering was that he left Zai alone, being blind and crippled. Some of the street boys felt happy as the older man had died, and it would be great for them to get Zai down. Still, the younger brother among them noticed a luxury car, and they all wondered what a luxury car would be doing at the funeral, and were surprised to see that it was Miss Linger, the drama superstar. When she came in, she was amazed that Zai was blind and didn't know why her father hadn't broken the marriage engagement and married someone like him. Zai, you told her that, since his grandfather had decided on the engagement, she should get her father to talk, and there would be no reason for her to come there. Zai, you asked her that it was evident that she wanted to break off the engagement, and yet she wants him to force a conversation with her father. She told him just to put forward his conditions, and even if he did, she could never marry a person with a disability and blind man like him. Zai, you replied that it's not that he doesn't want to break off the engagement, but she has to line up to break off the engagement. Suddenly another lady comes. She introduced herself as Yu Yanran. She told Zai that her father had received a big favor from his grandfather, and now that he's gone she would have to burn incense to honor him. Again another comes. She also introduced herself as Lin Yaju. She told Zai that her old man had informed her about everything before he died, and she was going to kowtow so they could talk about business slowly. Another one comes again, named Bai Ranran. She was excited to see Zai. Zai, you looked at her and were about to ask who she was. She said, Grandpa Zai, please rest in peace, kneeling beside the light. Yun promised the dead grandfather that she would care for Zai and ensure no one ever hurt him as much as she was there. Zai asked her if she also truly wanted to respect his grandfather, wondering how many strangers had been coming to do so. But she answered that no one would ever pay respect to someone they didn't know. She told him that the last girl, the student, might have a crush on him and he could not handle the three of them together, but she could give him some money so they could live happily together. Zai told her that if she meant what she was saying, he would not be ruthless, but she had acted like a tsundere with little kindness and had been confused about what to do. Was being a tsundere? Bai Ranran asked. Just then, one of them decided to take her to leave, and Linger told him to observe well and see that she was the only one trying to make it up to him. She informed him that some people wouldn't take the engagement seriously and won't even talk to him. Zai, you tell her that he can understand that, after all, no one wants to marry a blind man. But she replied that it was not how he had thought. He might have some flaws, but he still looks pretty good, even if none of them wanted to marry him. She then gave him a card and pleaded that if he needed anything, he should call the number, even if it concerned his eyes and legs, and she would help him find the best doctor. But with all her comforting words, Ranran was not moved. She scolded her that if she wanted to break off the engagement, she should do it, and not act like a charity. Zai was surprised and asked her if she did not behave that way, but she explained that she was attempting to convince him that she was exceptional, and that falling in love with her would be very painful for him. She said she didn't mean to break off the engagement, though she resented her parents for deciding her marriage. It would seem unfair to both of them, even as the union would seem complicated, so they just needed a period to get to know each other and decide whether they would break the engagement. Ranra then spoke up. She told Zayu that if the engagement concerns financial settlement, she will give more than the other promised. One of the women informed Zayu that she doesn't want to give money, and yet she wants to break off the engagement after one of them complained about having a meeting in some hours. It's a different story now. If she spends money to solve it, she is doing charity. If she doesn't, she is stingy. She can't take the charity but can be cheated on while stingy. She told Zai that she was not there to break the engagement. She wanted to date him, and they could get the certificate directly. Another one requested that he say no, claiming he couldn't handle her. This little sister is cute and kind. One of them said she had heard people talk about her being the owner of the Moonlight Bar, a nice place, but she doesn't seem friendly. She requested that if she likes Zai, she should not mind being his younger sister. One of them said it's not as easy to tell the good from the bad as she had thought, and she has been a helpless and weak woman. If she wanted to survive, it would be challenging. One of them said again that he was already blind and disabled so he couldn't follow a woman like her. She gave Zai her business card, and although he couldn't see it, at least he must be able to smell it in as much as her body fragrance was on it. She further requested that she would be waiting for his call, and would come to his place immediately after he called. Those women pretended to be friendly people, but he was blind, and they gave him business cards, so he couldn't see what was on them. Linger told him that he didn't need to look for any of them and promised to help him with anything. She then put her contact on his phone and instructed him that, from that time on, he should call only her. Leave it to me, brother. Zayu, I will help you record those people's business cards, Linger said as she collected the phone from him. She also added her phone contact and instructed him to contact her if he needed anything. She is good to Zayu as he is pleased with everything about her. Then the acclaimed younger said she can help them if they want to be together, but Linger disapproved, shouting that they don't need anyone to be together. Lin seems there is no way to live with either Zayu this time. Something urgent just came up, so she needs to deal with it. The other woman told her to focus on her work as they had been like that for 10 years, and the mission was completed that way. Mu said everyone has their secret and the superstar can ask her, but she disclaimed it, lamenting that she can't ask a student such as a superstar. She continued and told Zai that by looking at it, the girl was not particularly suitable for him and then suggested that he stays single for the rest of his life since the woman would come for his money even if she gave him money. She then asked if he had never thought of marrying her and not to think that because she had been talking with him for a bit, she had an interest in him and claimed she was just being pitiful. Otherwise, she would not care about him. She also asked if she had any idea about him. The words seem unpleasant to Zayu, but she still seems to be a nice person. Therefore, he gave her a gift, a necklace that seemed ugly, but she still accepted it. Things look complicated, but Linger tells him that collecting something from him doesn't mean she has an interest in him but will help him out, which she would consider a courtesy, as there is no way a blind man should be worthy of her. Zai told him that though he had no idea who she was before, he still remembered her by heart. She complimented him and reminded him to contact her immediately if he needed anything, and he must inform her before meeting any of the other women. Zai told her not to forget the amulet he gave her and always wear it on her body. Although it's ugly, it's advantageous. She affirmed to keep that in mind and would wear it if she is in a good mood and can never wear it anytime she's not in a good mood. As she entered the car, one of the guards asked Linger if the blind man was her betrothed, but she told him not to call him blind and cripple again, even if other people were calling him that way. He was surprised at how Linger could be moved by Zai, looking vividly at their status, and he warned her about what the media might say if they found out. She tried to explain that it was not how they had thought, but it was just that Zai's family had helped theirs and would not just be looking at him living like that, though he had never asked for anything from them. Although he never asked for anything before, now that he knows who she is, the driver seems worried. Living a hard life and not asking others to repay the favor resulted from noble character, and not repaying the favor is a narrow-minded idea. The reason Linger does not want them to call Zai blind and cripple is that she is afraid he seems sensitive and might feel they are looking down on him, which would not help him anymore. It's my fault for not thinking it through. Her driver asked her if you weren't the one who called him that first. Her attitude toward him stems from the fear that he might fall in love with her. After all, they would not be together, and falling in love with him would only cause him to hurt. Back at Zai's house, Zai took a deep breath as he sat before his grandfather's portrait. He told him that he had met all the girls and found them to be kind-hearted in their ways. He wished to save all of them, but they were all proud and arrogant, and he couldn't reveal the truth to them. When the door suddenly knocked, Zai heard his grandfather telling him to answer it. He wondered if his grandfather had returned as promised, but he was still confused as he knew his grandfather wouldn't be the same person upon his return. Zai knew that humans knock 3 times, but spirits knock 4 times. As the knocking continued for the 4th time, he realized it was the spirit of his grandfather at the door. The voice came again, asking if he didn't want to see his grandfather and promising to give him anything if he opened the door. The spirit also requested that Zai follow him as he had come to take him away. Linhai's Taoism alliance. As the night settled in Linhan, strange rumors began to circulate about the presence of the 100 spirits of the night. Zheng Sihai, president of the Taoism alliance branch, was alarmed and immediately ordered his deacon to investigate the matter. 100 spirits of the night. How could it appear in Linhan? Zaiyu, these rumors were not new. He had heard them from his grandfather, who warned him of the dangers of the 100 spirits of the night. And there was a particular reason why he was in Linhan: to seek revenge. No one bewitched him, as some might have thought. Instead, his grandfather had instructed him to kill him when he returned to the town, and he was determined to carry out his mission at all costs. The spirit's chilling chant echoed, "Kill us." Zai stood before them, relying on his skills to dissipate the evil energy. But the hearts mocked him, saying that it would be a different story if his grandfather were there. Zai tried a different approach, offering to spare the spirits suffering if they answered his question about his grandfather's whereabouts. But the spirits laughed in his face, boasting of their strength and power in Linhai. Feeling defeated, Zai knew he was no match for the spirits. He turned to leave but then had an idea. He remembered the Taoism alliance branch and its ability to handle such supernatural situations. Ignoring the spirits' taunts, Zai called upon the alliance for help. The hearts sneered, but Zai felt a glimmer of hope. Finally acknowledging the spirit's existence, Zai hoped the alliance could help him rid Linhai of their evil presence. As Zai left, the spirits laughed, but unease lingered. What will happen next? Can the alliance truly handle the spirit's power?